So, a commenter asked me about my last video, if it was satire, that I was a parody, if I was parody of parody, whatnot. And I'm just gonna say, the message in the last video was 100% authentic, just the same as the beer, the shades, the accent, the guns, and the TV. Okay. So, one of the big things I've noticed among some Second Amendment advocates, some firearm freedom advocates, is that we don't always take into account the psychology behind the gun control advocate. And I think this is a big part of it. In fact, we've noticed on Twitter a lot of gun control advocates, and other places in Twitter, that a lot of gun control advocates are making very violent statements and acting in very violent fashions. I've noticed this for a while, from talking to gun control advocates and whatnot. Now, I know a lot of people have asked this question, either seriously or rhetorically. I've asked it rhetorically myself, and that's why are a lot of gun control advocates so violent? And I'm not talking about all gun control advocates. Obviously, there are a lot of different types of gun control advocates out there, and they're pro-gun control for a few different reasons. But the main one I want to focus on are the violent ones. Now, a few other terms I'm going to be using aside from reaction formation, which is the main topic in this video, are the terms projection, which mean when somebody has an attribute they don't like about themselves, or a trait that they don't like about themselves, they tend to deny that trait in themselves while pushing that on other people or other objects, claiming that that's a trait of other people or other objects. And then centration, which is a very immature way of coming to a conclusion. It basically focuses on one aspect of an issue and ignores all other aspects, despite relevance of the aspect that they focus on versus the aspects that they ignore. So, what is a reaction formation? A reaction formation, very overgeneralized term, is when somebody responds by acting like they're the complete opposite of how they really are. Now, where this is valid on this issue, if you combine the projection and centration with the gun control advocates, which a lot of these same issues and mentalities, these same psychological defenses are a lot of the times interlinked, you'll find your answer. You'd say humans, is like a lot of animals, do have some violent tendencies in them. These violent tendencies have been a part of our evolution. How they've worked to protect the species is that, well, there's a certain amount of violence that one may or may not need to do to survive. Back in our primitive days, our ancestors had to oftentimes defend themselves from predators, other tribes, and so on to survive. Today, our modern world, well, there's still the occasional need for self-defense. Obviously, you have a lot of sick people out there. You have a lot of people that will commit violence against another person for whatever reason. And to respond by protecting yourself with violence, by protecting your life from other violence, for protecting your loved ones from death or serious bodily harm from other violence, that would be an example of an acceptable use of violence. Where some people are just either so inherently violent or they just want to deny their own violent tendencies to the point where it does become a mental issue. Now, in my previous video, I talked about gun control advocates trying to instill a phobia into first-time gun buyers. Well, the gun control movement oftentimes relies on some of our most primitive instincts taken out of whack to push through their agenda. And this reaction formation is no different. So, I'm going to get into the theory right quick. And the theory goes, the instincts and the derivatives may be arranged into pairs of opposites, life versus death, and so on, right? When either one of these instincts produces an anxiety by producing or exerting pressure on the ego, either directly or by way of superego, the ego may try to sidetrack the offending impulse by concentrating upon its opposite. And the most common example is given is if somebody has a hostility or hate towards another person, usually the psychologists try to define this with sibling rivalry. That one sibling that has hostility towards their other sibling may excessively root for their sibling, anything like that to conceal their hostility, though some can tell, a lot of people can tell that hostility is still there, despite the reaction formation. Facts on the reaction formation: it's a neurotic defense mechanism. It includes intellectualization, disassociation, displacement, and repression. When it takes place, it's usually assumed that the original rejected impulse does not vanish but persist at an unconscious level in its most infantile form. Thus, when love is experienced as a reaction form against hate, we cannot say that the love is substituted for hate, but the original aggressive feeling still exists underneath the affectionate exterior that merely masks the hate to hide it from its awareness. So, obviously, that feeling of hatred is still there. It's just being masked by something else, such as when the gun control advocates project their own violence on an inanimate object based on centration, real or perceived. It's really a reaction formation. And their feelings of violence and hatred are still there, regardless of what they say. Let's get into some of these tweets. How is this? Gun owners are a deadly threat to public safety and their execution should be legal. There's one that let their violent tendencies slip out. And I've got another tweet from him, by the way, but you can also see that he's projecting his own violent tendencies on gun owners. And this one I couldn't help but put out. This was something before I started putting videos out on YouTube, but I was still commenting on. Salvador Gunther made the comment, "Fucking gun nut morons abound." I put an in-kind response, which sometimes I do. I can't help it, guys. It's just me. Mentally deficient gun control Nazi alert. And then he says, "Please go make love to your guns, preferably loaded with the side of your temple." Well, first off, one of the first 4 rules of gun safety is you don't point a firearm at what you don't want to be destroyed. I happen to love my head, so I'm following that rule of firearm safety. This person says, I believe in some regulations, but banning them totally, good luck with that. And then the guy says, send the feds in to take them by force. Again, what do you think that entails? You don't think that entails any violence? And then again, another case. I love this one, born for gun nuts, but the barreling, first off, breaking 2 safety rules right there. I don't think we like to see our heads go, and when the barrel's pointed on our mouth, we're not ready to fire, at least I'm not. I don't think I'd even want to point the barrel of a gun in my mouth, but okay. But as you can see, they also put the sexual innuendo on that one, which I'm going to get into in a later video. Celebrating the death of a concealed carrier. Totally not violent at all. And as you can tell, CSGV, Shannon Watts, Moms Demand, big players in the gun sense movement, or the gun control movement. They know about this stuff, yet they don't do anything to refute it. Here the response is, so merely carrying a pistol makes you a gun nut. That just goes to show you how far this has gone. What some of these people consider gun nuts. Do us all a favor and kill yourself. Yeah, totally not a violent wish there. No, I want real Americans to kill teabag terrorists with guns. Yeah, you totally don't have any violent fantasies there either. Okay. Last but not least, back to Adam Murmur. Your very possession of a firearm is an indication of premeditation. So hard you can tell that none of these guys operate on a logical track there. A lot of projection in there, a lot of centration. This is just a taste of the mentality of some gun control advocates. Now I realize that gun control advocates vary, and the reasons to why they're gun control advocates. With this video, I'm just showing you one type. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope this opens some eyes. I hope that gun control advocates will see this and maybe stop and pause and think about why they're really gun control advocates. And I hope that this will give pause to them, and that they will see things in a little bit of a different light. Take a pause, take a chance to think about it. Okay, you all take her easy now.